I just had a birthday yesterday, in fact, and I am now 26. And so I really wanted to do something for my birthday. And I was like, oh, I could do 26 of something, but that sounded like a really big number when you're talking about books and book videos. So instead, I decided to take inspiration from Nicole from A Beautiful Chaos of Books. A while back, she hauled the 5 most popular books from the year she was born as told by Goodreads. And it was really interesting to me, so I decided to do something a little bit different with it. Instead of the top 5 books from the year I was born as told on Goodreads, I wanted to read books that were popular like the very day I was born. So I was born April 12th, 1993, and I went and I found the nearest edition of the New York Times bestseller list at the time, then published April 11th, 1993, and I took 3 books off there to read and see if I agreed with what the adults that were around me thought was popular. So I didn't just say, oh, I'm going to take the top 5 books and read those, because I still want to enjoy the books I'm reading. I still want to be interested in the books I'm reading. So I kind of picked from all over. And the results were surprising. So let's get started. The first, this was number 11 on the list, was The Children of Men by P.D. James. This was, I guess it's maybe a modern classic, depends on who you ask. I watched the movie version in high school for English class, so I had some, well, what I thought was some familiarity with the story. Come to find out, the movie is much different, maybe better. But this revolves around a slow apocalypse. The year 1995 is called basically the Omega year, or the Omega, for this universe, because it is the last time any babies were born in the world. For whatever reason, and the book never really gets into it, the entire human race becomes suddenly infertile. No new babies are being born, and so essentially you're aging up through knowing that no one's coming after you, and elementary schools are being shut down, and toys are no longer being made, and all of this kind of thing. And this book really does a good job at exploring every nook and cranny of that concept of what it would be like. You have women buying dolls to be fake babies, or they're having christenings for new kittens because there's this giant hole for infants in their lives, and there's just a giant hole for young kids that isn't filled. The problem is that this is what I like to call a walking simulator book. For those of you who don't play a lot of video games, a walking simulator video game is basically a video game where the point is to walk through a cool looking area more so than to play a plot. And that's what like the first half of this book felt like. Not a lot happened. The guy who is a history professor and the cousin, I believe, of this, what is essentially a dictator, a benevolent dictatorship, kind of just goes through the world and sees stuff. It takes a lot before he actually kind of hits home that he needs to do something about the horrible things going on. In the second half of the book, it really starts picking up and almost goes too fast. So it's like slow, fast, and we're done. But he falls into this group of dissidents, I guess you could say. They're not the best revolutionaries, but they see what's wrong and they want to fight it. So they're basically, criminals, but when he falls in with them, he discovers that one of them is pregnant, and it becomes the whole huge focal point of this is there's a baby again after, I believe, 25 years of having nothing. Now, this book was very strange to live in, quote unquote, for me, because I was born in 1983, so I would have technically still been alive in this world, although this takes place in the UK, so I wouldn't have lived in this exact world. But I work in an elementary school. So I would have not had my job because elementary schools have all been closed down. So it was an interesting idea. But like I said, I liked the movie better. The main character, Theo, is just so, I think he's supposed to be purposely unlikable and then grows to be likable, but he never quite grows to be likable. He just doesn't care about anything, and then he suddenly cares about everything. And I don't quite believe it. He suddenly is in love with this woman when he's claimed that he's never been in love with anyone before in 50 years of life. And Yeah, I don't see it. But the aura of the world, the kind of like nihilism and the kind of like, oh, what does it matter? Let there be a dictatorship as long as we have, food and electricity to the end, and knowing that one day the majority of the population will be old, and what the hell are we supposed to do then? Who's going to take care of all these old people when we have no young ones coming up? And what's the point of history? We're not going to leave anything behind. And that whole, it gives a lot to mentally think about and kind of chew on philosophically. So that's why I don't necessarily mind too much that they don't explain exactly why the human race became infertile. It's not the point of it. The point of it is to think, okay, they are infertile. What would that look like? And talk about mortality and that kind of stuff. But the plot of the movie, way better. Just way better. The ending in here seemed a little bit...
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Margaret Adele. Happy birthday to you.
How am I supposed to open this?
I think you untie it.
Oh, I'm smart.
What'd you get?
Like you don't know.
Ooh. What is this?
I am not good at opening things. That should be said right now.
There we go.
Gosh.
What is it?
Is this the ring light set I wanted?
I don't know.
So I won't have...
I don't know. Ooh, this looks like some kind of tripod.
Ooh. Okay, we have a fancy bag.
Fancy, fancy. We gotta keep that thing protected.
Yes!
Ha
My birthday present. Now I don't always have to film in front of the one window in the office. Thank you.
You're welcome. Follow me on Twitter at OneRealSmartAlex. You got 2,000 followers. They can follow me.
On Twitter, not on YouTube.
Well, your Twitter followers all watch your videos, don't they?
No, I wish.
Here, what's else in here?
I'm assuming the phone stand.
Oh, maybe. Alright, see you later, YouTube. I'm gonna go take a shower. The number one, real smart Alex. Just the number one, real
It is the phone. Okay.
smart
Go! Go!
Alex. ALEX. Have a great day, YouTube. Read some books.
Okay. So we're back. Yes, that was what I asked for my birthday, was a ring light and a tripod and all of that, so that I can be a better YouTuber. And I swear, I'm pretty sure he actually did wait until I was filming to get that. Regardless, back to it. This is going to be such a long video. I'm sorry. So, yes. Movie version was better. The ending was better. The ending in the book was a little too neat. Was a little too, everything works out in this last 20 pages. And I'm not the biggest fan of that in general. But I did still enjoy reading it. I did still enjoy having those thoughts, even though, doing what I do, my life would be so much different, and what the world would look like was an interesting thought. So the next up was the number 9 on the New York Times bestseller list, April 11th, 1993, and that was Along Came a Spider by James Patterson. This is the first in his Alex Cross series, and I picked this one because I have read 1 or 2 books farther down the road in his series. It's been going on for a really long time. There's at least over like a dozen books at this point, I think. So I was interested to see where it all started. I didn't love it as much as I thought. I liked that the main character is black, and in the later books, like the ones I read, it's not brought up as much. It's just kind of an accepted fact. Like, basically, like, yeah, he's black, but like you could read part of the book in the later series and not even know if that's your first book. This one is a lot more emphasis on his race, I guess. And I really liked that aspect. I like the idea of, he's this black cop who is investigating a serial killer in the ghetto, I guess you could call it, where the serial killer is killing mostly black people, and a lot of them are like prostitutes and that kind of stuff, and he's basically told, no, that doesn't matter as much. These two rich white kids have gone missing. You have to give up the serial killer and go investigate this. And so I thought that was going to be a way bigger aspect, but it's really not. Like, after a little bit, he's like, okay, yeah, sure, let's go. I'm like, no, like, this is a serial killer is terrorizing your neighborhood, and you're totally okay with ignoring it. Okay, fine, whatever. The biggest problem I have with this book is the romance in it was not believable at all. Like, if you told me that they were just casual friends with benefits, probably would have believed it more. But I didn't. So he's chasing after the kidnapper of these two kids, this guy that wants to be famous, and he's falling in love with this woman, but I don't believe it. There's a couple plot twists that I appreciated. And the other problem with the romance, I'm trying to be vague here, the romance is a part of it. Like, the romance has an important part to the plot, which at that point kind of made the whole book a little meh for me, because if the romance is meh, but it's separate, I can just ignore it. If the romance is meh and then becomes a focal point of the plot, then you kind of can't ignore it. In general, not my favorite. I've read some other James Patterson that I liked more. Don't know that I'll necessarily continue with this series by number. I might read more of the later books because I did like those. And who knows, maybe he just developed his style. Also, the main character, at least in this book, was right all of the time, and pretty much whenever, like, some brand new piece of evidence came through that, like, upended everything he'd known before, he's just like, oh yeah, well, this is clearly right, and turned and went that way. Like, there was never a, wait, seriously? I can't believe that. Which was whatever. I'm really sad, because I wanted to love this. This is one of the ones that I was really excited to read. But it was just whatever. And then, the one that I loved the most, which was also, coincidentally, number 1 on the New York Times bestseller list of April 11th, 1993. The Client by John Grisham. This was a story about a young boy who witnesses a lawyer's suicide, but before the lawyer kills himself, he reveals the location of a very important body, the body of a senator that's been offed by a mafia hitman. So now the mafia knows that this boy knows where this body is, and the police know that this boy knows where this body is, and he is in all sorts of danger. So this little boy named Mark Sway finds himself a lawyer called Reggie Love, essentially to fight back and keep him safe and figure out what to do next with this insanely important information that he knows. I loved this book. I don't know that it was a straight 5 stars, but I really appreciated it. The character of Reggie Love is written in such a way where she's gone through a whole bunch of hell, but is stronger for it. She's had a divorce, and it got ugly, and she was suicidal and lost her kids to the divorce, to a husband that didn't really give a shit about them anyway, but just wanted them to hurt her. And she pulls it all back around to become a lawyer for juveniles, for divorces, for all of that, to sort of fight back in a way that no one helped her fight. The little boy, Mark Sway, is also incredibly realistic. Parts I'm like, oh, this kid is so annoying. But then I realized, like, but he's annoying in the way that a lot of 11-year-old boys are annoying. Because, like, again, I work in an elementary school. This is about 5th grade. It fits. That's about what 5th graders act. So I couldn't give him too much grief for that. He's also very clever, very ingenious in a lot of ways, but not so invulnerable that he's not, breaking down crying at the idea that he and his family are in danger. The ending felt just a touch bittersweet, but I loved it because of that. And in general, I just really liked this one, which is great, because I wasn't the biggest fan of the others, or I didn't love the others as much as I was hoping to. The style and the voice of this was very nice. I know John Grisham is supposed to be this gigantic name for crime fiction. I've probably read something else by him, although I can't remember off the top of my head, but I definitely will be keeping him on my list for in the future. If I had any real critique, it would be that a lot of the people felt a little bit too much like characters. That's going to sound weird. A little bit two-dimensional, I guess. Some of the characters were like a little bit, do real people actually talk like that, or is that just how you saw the mafia talking in a movie once? But beyond that, I really loved it. I would highly suggest it if you like the kind of procedural stuff. Like, the entire book, like literally the entire thing, is about this boy knowing his body is. You don't actually see the trial involving the murder of the senator. You don't actually see, you know, that aspect. It's literally just what will happen to this boy if he tells, or who is he going to tell, and that kind of thing. So you very much have to love the process of law and the procedure to like this. If you want like the actual like investigation beforehand and that kind of stuff, maybe not as much. But I loved it. This was my favorite. I am very happy I read it. It's very obvious why it was number one on the New York Times bestseller list the year I was born. The day I was born, practically. I mean, I was born the day after all of these were on the list, so I doubt they dropped off in less than 24 hours. So that's it for now. I hope you don't mind my husband jumping in to give me my belated birthday present, but you know, shipping always takes a while. I am going to be using that ring light set hopefully in the near future. I'm going to be doing some recording tomorrow of some videos. I got another readathon coming up because I don't learn. And thank you so much for being here. I am so happy to be 26 and with a loving husband and doing what I'm doing. So I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.